just so you know.
And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because Joey, Dalan, and I, well, we sometimes get together all at the same time. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But when we do, we've got stuff to talk about. And we basically just kind of drag you guys along for the ride. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble all over the place. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name, Shujin. After that, just fake it. Doesn't matter. It's going to be kind of hard to miss me. I've been around for a very long time. Trust me, I've tried to Google myself. It's amazing what you can find sometimes. It's kind of freaky, really, but be that as it may. Let me go ahead and introduce you to everybody, and we'll kind of go from there. Top left-hand corner of the bingo card of North America, who's actually on the bottom of the grouping on the video. Sorry. Dalan, hi.
Good evening.
I never remember who's going to be where. It just, I don't know why Discord does it the way that it does. It never makes sense.
Yeah, if we actually had a budget, we could probably do something a little more, something a little less dependent on a program like Discord.
Yeah.
However, that's not always easy to do. So,
Yeah, pretty much exactly right. Down and to the right just a little bit into the Midwest of the U.S., Brigid, good evening.
Good evening. I think it's officially winter now. At least here.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, right now we're at, -1. That's
Okay.
in Celsius.
yeah, no,
And
that's, yeah,
might
that,
actually have some of the S word coming through. Snow.
no, I got that. I got
Ooh, send some my way.
that. Well,
yeah, because if it was the other S word, we'd be risking demonetization.
yeah,
This is
like
true.
that matters. And a little bit further along into the jet stream, past where Brigid is, to the East Coast, UnrenownedTech. Good to have you back again, of course.
Thank you.
You're are you trying to grow like teats with that beard of yours? Because that's what it's starting to look like.
No, it's just
Yeah, you had like two.
Yeah, it wants to do this.
Okay, yeah, I see that. People want to know what I'm talking about. You don't.
My beard's trying to part down the middle, folks. For those of you who can't see,
That's
and it's kind of weird. So
I was gonna say the Captain Lou, but no, he kept it together with rubber bands, didn't he? That is
He
an
also had
old
I
reference.
think he also had one rubber band stapled to his face.
Something like that. I don't really remember. Anyway, so hi everybody. Good to be back with you. Happy post Thanksgiving US. Happy post Black Friday US and everywhere else who decided it was a good idea to get together.
Native American Day of Mourning.
happy Body Bag Day, folks.
Yeah.
For all those people who it really was their last Thanksgiving.
Yeah, for those of you that went out looking for Christmas gifts, I hope some of you were out there buying pine. No.
Somebody kept the receipts,
Yeah. I know that normally we wouldn't go ahead and just launch into stuff right away, but just for a couple of seconds here, I think we need to collectively go ahead and say it. You bunch of dumb.
Mofos.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I don't want to blow the F bomb straight away, but I mean, truthfully, and I think we can all agree on this one, I have no blessed idea why any of the aircraft companies, the airlines, the airports would bother opening.
Money.
I know.
Oh man,
Well,
I saw.
they're keeping Thanksgiving traditional,
I
to
know.
the old ways of spreading disease from one end of the country to the other.
I
and
know.
killing people.
I saw a GIF file of air traffic. Mostly centered around. Well, of course, it was centered around the U.S. And
like it should be, because we're number one.
Yeah.
Deaths
Okay.
and everything else.
Yeah. The last time I saw that much yellow, I was driving by a Caterpillar dealership. Okay.
That's great.
Like it was insane. And it's like, I thought there were travel restrictions. Like,
Of course.
Yeah.
well, but then again, just when I think I can ask a question like, wait a minute, didn't this or that happen? And then I remember what country I'm talking about, or what country I'm asking the question about, and realizing that you can put all the rules you want in there, but as soon as someone screams more freedom, that's it. Game over.
Yeah.
There is no more say.
Read up on the 1918-1919 influenza outbreak here in the United States of America. In the second half, in 1919, when it came back, there was the anti-mask league.
Yeah.
Talking about how dirty masks are and how they're not good for your breathing and everything else. By the way, in 1918, the death count was over 220,000 people, but still under 250,000. So we beat that record for, a virus killing people in 1 year. So, yay, go us.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
we still have the same stupids.
Well, it's because we've got, you adjust for inflation. It's kind of the way that it works. Joy, go us. So, as always, everybody, thank you for being with us. If you are live with us, feel free to take advantage of the live chat. Stephanie, good to have you back. Beth, hi, hon. We hope that you're doing all right. We're a little worried for you, as usual. So, we hope that you're staying safe and whatnot. I will, of course, read up and backtrack a little bit as we go along. And before we go any much further, I need to get this one out of the way because somebody's going to have to probably add this over into our chat so I don't forget to add it to the show notes later. Yeah, some people are going to recognize this one. So if I scare Tiny Tribble's back from college, by the way. So I hope I don't scare him in time. So, hey, smallpox Larry! There's some people who understand that one. So
That's great.
Somebody remind me to put that into the show notes for later. And Dalan, you'll be able to figure out where that is later because you're going to see it probably. Sorry.
Yeah, just fix that in post.
Yeah, no.
Well, no. To be fair, and I can say it here because the tip jar's not here. Screw you, Roxanne.
That's true. Hold that thought. What was that?
What are you saying about me?
No. I said, hey, smallpox Larry.
Okay.
Because we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Wonderful.
We're in the middle of a show. Bye.
Okay.
See,
Anyway, anyways, one thing I've learned recently is how to take a little bit of audio and amplify and use the amplify effect to actually bring it down to everything else. And as long as you're not doing too much of it at once, it actually sounds okay.
Okay.
Like I actually had one where I said something, I accented it a little bit too hard, and it peaked, and I'm like, okay, when I go to amplify this whole thing, that one's going to skew it so badly that nothing else will get increased. This is what happens. So I just took that one piece and squeezed it down to a nice level, and yeah, it all worked out. Of course, I've been mucking with my gains and everything like that recently, so I don't have to amplify anymore.
Yeah, good point. So for tonight's drink of choice, because I was thinking, okay, I finally need to bite the bullet and go after this one, I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and try out Bud Light Seltzer Pineapple.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She even said that like she was Canadian. She said, "Sorry, play that one back."
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm
She
gonna
was
use.
sincere.
Ooh, ice! I just opened it and I smell pineapple right away. You know what? That's not necessarily a bad thing. So I guess
Especially if you're having a date.
it could. Well, you have to do
Some
it in
people get
advance.
that joke.
And oh, look at that, nice and clear, like seltzer would be. Okay, I was thinking it was going to be some putrid yellow. It is seltzer clear. Okay, well, you know what? I guess we'll find out.
Hey, Crystal Pepsi was clear. It had a flavor.
Yes, failure is what it tasted of. That's
Right, but it wasn't water. It was failure, but at least it wasn't water. Is what I'm getting at.
well. So was Bud Light apparently from what we.
Yeah.
No, what was the other one? What was the one that we tried out? It was. What was the one that Jenny? That was the one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Genesee cream ale.
No. It was Jenny.
yeah.
Different one. One of these days, I will try Jenny cream ale. One of these days.
Yeah.
Not
Don't be
today.
see-
surprised if you don't like it. Also, don't be surprised if it gives you a headache.
Yeah. Well, we will
Now you
see.
see,
what happens.
my drink of choice tonight, or at least it was earlier tonight. I don't know if you guys saw this. I caught this recipe on Facebook a couple of days ago. Forgot about it. I had to go out to the store today, and I thought, okay, let's go back and let's find that recipe. So tonight earlier today, I made chai spice coffee.
Not a fan of chai.
Well, yeah, but so what it was, just okay, it's coffee, real coffee, not dirty brown bean water. Cinnamon, cardamom, ground clove, ground ginger, coriander, and black pepper.
Ooh.
And then for every 4 cups of coffee you make, you put in 1 teaspoon of this mixture. So a full pot, 3 teaspoons. Might scale it back because, oh boy, when that stuff started brewing, my house smelled beautiful. But I'll tell you right now, a cup of that with the spices in it will take your chill off.
Fair enough.
It was potent.
Fair enough. All right.
What I think is really funny is chai just means tea.
I don't know, it's Russian, but
And chai is just tea with milk and some other stuff in it.
honey.
Sometimes gingers, well, usually gingers, sometimes brown sugar, maple syrup, something sweet. Sometimes cinnamon, sometimes not. Sometimes people use star anise instead of cinnamon.
Oh.
It depends on your taste, but at the end of the day, it's just tea with milk.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Star anise, I've used that stuff before. Yeah, if you ever want to open your nasal passages, you want a sinus remedy, that's the stuff.
Well, here's the thing.
Bananas.
Cooking pork belly, roasting pork belly, or actually frying it up so that it gets crispy. But a slow roast on pork belly with star anise and a couple other seasonings is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of like I don't know if you guys have do you guys have football hams down there?
Football,
They're-
what?
A football ham.
Ham shaped like a football, I guess?
Well, not explicitly
Or are you
shaped like a
talking about,
football.
Like a ham hock?
No. This is it's a pre-cooked ham that
We
you
have
can
pre-cooked ham.
yeah, but like you can slice it up, you can heat it, you can still bake it.
We have something called ham steaks, which is usually like a thick slice of ham about this big, about
Yeah.
this wide, and it's all cooked, so you can take it right out of the package and eat it, or you can warm it up, you can fry it to give
Yeah.
it crispness, or whatever.
Okay. So using that analogy, this would be like a ham roast, which means you could carve ham steaks out of it, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
This is without bone, right?
Yeah, it's without the bone.
Okay.
One thing my former in-laws used to do is they take one of those things, brush it with honey, and punch cloves into the top and
that actually
bake it.
sounds very good.
Oh yeah, you'd get this like spicy honey ham. Just, mm. My ex-father-in-law was one hell of a redneck. I would say he'd be very well at home in some of your more southerly states down there. But he could cook.
Fair enough.
He actually got me liking pork chops. My mom tried for 20 years. Couldn't get me to like pork. It's just the way she made them.
No, it's
Then
okay.
he throws a couple of pork chops on the barbecue with a little bit of seasoning. Done.
And yeah, now that I know what you're talking about, we do have boneless hams. They're about yay big. The popular ones that I've seen but I've never bought in the store are almost always honey baked. But I prefer non-honey baked ham.
Yeah.
No worries.
It doesn't need all the extra sugar added to it to taste good, in my opinion.
Oh, we shall see. So, for those of you that are wondering, why didn't we get rolling? This actually worked out to our advantage because Joseph will be joining us momentarily. He just woke up. Considering it's so dark, stupid in the morning, I'm not going to hold it against him. I just wanted to find out if he'd join us before I jumped into the opening or after. He'll be jumping in while things are working, so we'll go from there. So let me go ahead and get everything rolling. So with 5 minutes on the clock for you, your 5-minute freestyle. That starts right now. And this week I labeled it Vision. Believe it or not, I actually started to write this one out. It was originally going to be I don't know if you want to call it a treatise or just a written work, but I got to thinking about what the term means. I've been binge watching The West Wing again a lot and going back through, which is a little on the weird side, but when it's what you've got, you work with it. And I got to thinking a little bit further about what the purpose of the head of an organization is. In this case, very specifically, the President of the United States of America. Now, I know that job can be considered, a little over the top, a little grandiose, a little big for itself in a lot of ways. I'd be the first to agree. But whoever it is that's actually in front, whoever it is that's at the top of whatever organization, their vision is what drives everything behind it. The thing that got me was watching when the president, and I know it's fiction, but when the president said, no, I'm not going to go ahead and do a continuing resolution on funding after we had an agreement of 1% cut, and you come back and say, well, no, it's got to be 3% cut. We had a deal, shut the government down then, and he decided that he was just going to walk up Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol to have a talk with the guys over there with the purse strings. And instead of just driving the whole way, he stopped to talk and say hi to some folks from way out of town, and then to walk the rest of the way. And it was a great moment because you had all these people who were just lining the streets, who were just, what's going on over there? It's the president? He's walking? Sure, I'll get in behind him. I came all the way over here to Washington, D.C. to find out that everything's shut down. Why? And then the vision was nationwide. Say what we will about the 24-hour news cycle, suddenly all the networks are covering it. And all the guys in their chamber are scared as hell. And rightly so. Because every step brings the president that much closer to him. 10, 15 minutes later, they're in there knocking on the door saying, hey, we want to have a talk with you. And they stood him up. For 7 minutes, they stood him up. So then he decided, that's enough, we're gone. The vision is what guides. The vision is what drives. And if you don't have a vision for what you want as an end goal, what in the hell are you trying to do? I've talked about this before, of saying, what a lot of progressives in government, in politics, what they typically want are for everybody to be safe, secure, healthy, as many people as possible, all that are under the purview of government. And those that end up being conservative, and again, I'm using lowercase terms here, I have to ask them, what is your vision? What is your end goal? What is it that you see that the country should be? I want there to be less government. That's rather nebulous. How do you mean? Do you mean military? Can't have that. Okay. Well, what is it that you don't want? All these regulations, don't want them. What, you mean like child labor laws? Or environmental protection laws? So, what is it that you want? Tell us what it is that you want. Have the discussion to at least explain where you see your country, your area, your society being, so that we can have an actual discussion about it. Because there's a very good possibility that what you want isn't feasible, because we had it already, and collectively we decided I would much rather be able to breathe the air than be able to see it as a haze over the city. This is episode 339 on the docket, Your Honor, How the Peter Principle Failed Us. And let me go ahead and reorganize our video feed over here, because we got somebody was able to join us at the moment. Let me get Joey over into Ohio. Glad you were able to make it, man.
Apologies, running a little bit late.
No worries. Joseph should be joining us momentarily, and we'll kind of work it from there. But yeah, like I said, you know, I don't mind getting my hands dirty and being, you know, angry and yelly, screamy with these openings, but every once in a while, you know, it's good to kind of play the bait and switch of just, why don't you tell me what it is that you want? And I've had a really hard time using that and trying to get a straight answer out of anybody. And, you know, it's funny. You bring up things like, you know, child labor laws and, you know, the what used to be known as the haze over California. Yeah, it's amazing when you start pointing out that, you know, environmental protection. Yeah, that was a Republican president. Thank you very much. So, you know, get off your high horse, which apparently must have come from Colorado. Or where is it that they got mushrooms available now? Utah? Whatever. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Oregon. Sure. Yeah. We'll go with that. Oregon. It's up north near the border. Who in the hell cares?
Well, if you're talking about psilocybin, yeah, it's Oregon.
Okay. So here's the deal with this stuff. Bud Light Seltzer Pineapple. Does it have some taste of pineapple? Some. Does it taste like it's seltzer? Yeah. It's basically seltzer with a twist and fermented something. Is it worth it? No. If you're going to drink seltzer because you like seltzer, first off, I'm not going to judge you on it outwardly, but no. I'm not going to say that it tastes bad, but it's definitely not appetizing, so I'm probably not even going to finish this, and I've had some swigs off of it already. So we'll just put that aside and just tell that the nice King of Beers company, whatever. We'll just leave it there. Whatever.
Remember, for a lot of people, it only has to do two things.
Yep.
Has to be cheap.
Yep.
It has to get you drunk. Portability, taste, all the other stuff. That's why I just buy my alcohol by the liter.
Well, you want to go ahead and you want to borrow the stuff that you'd otherwise put in your radiator. That's fine. That's your business, not mine.
No, do not drink coolant. That will kill you.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you get really high first, at least. So, you got that going for you. I did go looking up information on Rafe Badawi. We have no new information, unfortunately, as of the recording of tonight's show. It has now been 8 years, 5 months, 13 days since Rafe was unjustly incarcerated for thought crimes. Our hopes and our thoughts are still with you and your family. We are still waiting, just like you are. And I'm sorry, Joe, I cut you off there. What was that?
No, it's fine. I was just going to say that tingling you feel in your lips, yeah, that's not you getting high. That's something entirely different with antifreeze.
Good point. That's a very good point. So, that being the case, Joseph should be joining us, eventually. I guess we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. So, excuse me. Yes, I've had a little bit of a cough and a little bit of a sneeze. Why? Not from Tiny Tribble. It's because the heater has been working. Joy.
So what you're saying is you need a humidifier.
No, what I'm saying is I need to have all the dust and dirt and stuff that's been collecting in my heater elements to finally go away.
That too.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. So, while we're at it, how about I go ahead and get us rolling over here with the horrible scopes, and we'll see where it takes us. So, with that in mind, for those of you that are looking for your horrible scopes, here they are. If you know what your astrological sign is, cool. If you don't, roll a d12. Ask your smart assistant to roll a d12 for you. It'll work. It doesn't matter. It's all gonna work the way that it works, because it doesn't work. And fair warning, I didn't get paid for these this week. You'll be able to tell.
Don't you ever... When have you ever got paid for these?
Details. So let's get you rolling over here. Aries, there will be a bee attack this week. Not saying you're going to be involved with it, but going to suggest a new outfit to wear. Yellow and black horizontal stripes are doing nothing for your appearance, and they single you out in a crowd. Not that we think you're guilty of anything, just friendly advice.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. Taurus. Oh wow, this is familiar. I think it's the same order we did last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hang posters of Newton and Leibniz on your walls. Paint big red X's across their faces and scrawl poser at the bottom. You know that they didn't discover calculus first, but it can be traced as far back as Egypt around 1820 BCE. You're not a history nerd. You're just to give credit where credit is due, and to curry favor with Anubis and Thoth.
Gemini. Prop up your feet for a few days and check out what's new on Hulu. Maybe see about Animaniacs episode 6. You know, the one that got pulled because the Pinky and the Brain episode included an 800 number to a phone sex line instead of to a fake line. Maybe the brain is onto something here.
Yeah, that's true too. That's very true.
Cancer Moon Child. You think you single-handedly started the cappuccino movement? You can't even pronounce the word espresso correctly. The fact that proper Italians overhearing you haven't taken you out the back of a Dunkin' Donuts and beaten you half dead should be a warning to you on its own.
Leo, you don't realize just how powerful and important the number 0 is. Without 0, computers wouldn't work the way they do today. Can you imagine trying to program in Sanskrit? It's the only number that, when used, is said to add an order of magnitude. So when people call you a zero, wear that term with pride.
There's some people right now who are just like, dude, you're describing modula. No, it just looks like that. Virgo, sleep on the floor. It'll help after you strained your back trying to go roller skating. And why were you roller skating? Because you couldn't go ice skating. And why can't you go ice skating? Because it's not winter yet. Wait for December, for crying out loud.
Libra. Yeah, I remember this one.
Well, this is the same one that I did for Friday. That's the way it works.
Yeah, I know. Just, I didn't drink anything to deaden the nerve. Anyways, it's time to rediscover an old hobby of yours and turning it into a profitable job. Fantasy paperback story writer. This really should be a Pisces, but anyways, squeeze as many cliches as possible into each story and you'll have a hit. Start off with the magically switched bodies with royalty trope. Throw in magical dreaming and a juggling, traveling circus performer, and you'll have a hit on your hands.
Scorpio.
And probably something for Netflix.
Maybe. Scorpio. Stay away from the parrot. She'll start repeating all the secrets you mumble in your sleep. Your best pet is an ant farm. All they need is water and sugar, and never complain if you're late getting home, and never need to go out for walkies.
Sagittarius. Strangers will be giving you advice on how to cope with the holiday shopping. You'll be better off listening to an angry goat. Let them down easy, or distract them with food samples in the store. Although, right now, I'm just going to add to the end of this. If you're in a store that's handing out food samples and you live in the United States of America, you deserve whatever the hell you get if you eat that thing.
Yeah, you know what? If you're in a store, period, and you're living in the United States of America,
and you're not doing the right thing by wearing a mask and getting in and out instead of dilly-dallying, you're part of the problem.
Hey, Tech, you can't eat food samples wearing a mask unless you have a slot.
I am persistent. I can get a lot of things through a small, tiny patch of fabric.
SLOT. That's what she said, okay?
Yes, that's what she said. Joey, keep
Capricorn.
going. Yes, please. Thank you.
Your near encyclopedic knowledge of the art of taxidermy is scaring away potential dates. Keep that in your back pocket for at least the third date. Remember, difference between excitement and rigor mortis.
Come on, you got to finish that.
No, I said there's a difference between excitement and rigor mortis.
Okay.
That's all there is to it.
Sorry, the way you said it presented as you were going to add something to the end of that, so you actually created a false sense of anticipation.
It's all good.
Look, if he's going any further with it, this channel would be canceled, okay?
And let's face it, a false sense of anticipation? I think we have a few folks here that could comment on that.
Aquarius. No, this one is not at all written for me. Aquarius, you waited all year for the latest and greatest computer parts so you could build a new one, and what happens? Everything is sold out. New CPUs? Gone. Video cards? Back ordered. High-speed memory? Yeah, they're going to be installed Tuesday. The only thing that's available? Hard drives. A fat load of good that's going to do for you, right? Just buy a Nintendo Switch to pass the time instead this season. Oh. Right.
Nintendo, you're part of the problem.
They have been for a year.
Well, if they had just made more switches, less people would be going outdoors because they'd actually be entertained.
Am I going to be a dick if I point out it's fewer people?
Uh,
Joseph?
Joe,
What?
you
Ow.
got some electrical buzzing going on there, buddy. Are you shaving your pubes again on the air?
the show is not sponsored by Manscaped.
I mean, it seriously sounds like he's got one of those wall razor things going. "Nee."
Joseph, your microphone is not working. It is sending through a really nasty hum. Good for right now.
I wonder if they were made in China.
Again, not to be a pedantic game nerd here, but are you sure you're talking about the Nintendo Switch or the PS5?
Some
Well,
from
because-
column A,
yeah.
some from column II.
Yeah.
You know,
honest-
because to be perfectly honest, like a Nintendo Switch, I've had no problem seeing them or wanting to go pick one up. So
Yeah, but you've also got a Toys R Us up in Canada too, so, whatever.
I bought mine at Best Buy.
Whatever.
all the Best Buys down here are sold out.
And have
Wow.
It's not okay. So I used to work in
No.
retail, and one
Later.
of the common problems is that stores would get maybe 50 to 100 of a particular console during release, and that was it. And some stores that were promised an amount from the vendors and the manufacturers wouldn't even get them, and it's not uncommon.
Let's at least finish this off.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like the bad days with the Wii. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Pisces.
Slot.
And yeah, I almost feel like this one was written for me. Pisces, you really need to go talk to Libra as a friend. Because you recognize the plot of the book they're going to write as a series written by Robert Silverberg in 1979. I mean, sure, it was nominated for the Hugo Award for Best Novel back then, but it's still someone else's work. Better help them find a new plot line before the lawyers get a whiff of this. How about combining Star Trek with MASH and see where that takes you? Well, it was probably a good thing that Discord disconnected last night because I kind of spun off a little bit last night about this whole thing. I actually thought it would be it could have been a good idea as long as Alex Kurtzman wasn't involved.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Go ahead.
those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, I didn't get paid for them this week, and it kind of shows. You could bribe us next time. Maybe. And we'll kind of see where it takes us from there. So let's see what we got. Joseph, if you unplugged, replugged, or moved something around, go ahead and take yourself off mute again. Let's see what we got. Or he stepped away, and well, in which case... Okay, you're not muted anymore, but I don't hear you.
It'd still be troubleshooting.
Probably would be. Okay. We'll see what happens in a couple of minutes and see if we can grab you again. So let me give you the real quick and skinny about the episode tonight. How the Peter Principle failed us. Now, we've talked about the Peter Principle before. Lawrence J. Peters' principle is everyone is promoted to their level of incompetence. If you do a job well, you get promoted to a new job that you have to be trained on and then find out whether or not you're good at it. And if you're still good at it, you get promoted yet again and get retrained. And if you are still good at that job, then you go up again until you get to a point where, it doesn't matter how much they go ahead and retrain you, you're just mediocre, and that's pretty much where you end up staying for a while. Now, this is the overall model, or at least it used to be once upon a time ago, that, you'd come into a job, you'd work hard, you show that you had the grit to go ahead and do it, and you get promoted after a while. To the point where you could start off mopping floors, and eventually you could actually be the maitre d' at a restaurant. However, these things don't exactly work that way anymore. Not that it was a great method, but people have been consistently failing upwards. And it's a bad thing. It's actually a worse thing than what the Peter Principle does in and of itself. So we need to kind of discuss why this is the way that it is. And it's not just about politics, although it happens quite often that way. It can happen pretty much anywhere, including politics. Joy. So we'll see where this takes us. Joseph, let's see what you've got at this point. Can we actually talk to you? We don't have any audio yet.
Well, he's unmuted. That's a good start.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, now he's muted. Now he's unmuted. So he's found the mute button.
Yep.
I saw.
We're getting nothing at the moment. You might need to double check what's going on with Discord's audio setting itself first, and see if it's registering that you're getting audio through it, and we'll kind of work from there.
Try turning it off and on again.
I think you did. Anyhow, so let's deal with some of the spots where I know full well the Peter Principle definitely applies. Medical, Brigid, nursing. Let's face it. First level of Peter Principle, somebody who goes into the medical community, if they have a problem with, fainting when they see blood, chances are they're probably not going to be a frontline trauma person.
Probably not.
After that, you end up putting in who only knows.
Hello?
Oh, that was super loud, but yes, that was you.
That was better than before.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Damn. Well, it took a while. Okay, I made like about 5 different changes, but I don't think I waited long enough for them to actually take effect between them. So, anyways.
Okay, a word of advice, Joseph. From now on,
Yeah.
don't touch anything.
Okay. So everybody,
You've got it. Keep it.
yeah, everybody, please excuse me for just a couple of moments. I'm going to turn off the video feed so I can make a minor adjustment to Joseph's audio, because on my side it's too loud. Don't do anything yourselves. No, don't do anything. I have to adjust a piece on my side.
Well, I could do something.
No.
Don't touch. How did somebody
When
help me?
the audio,
Touch anything in French?
excuse me.
You see,
Excuse me. When the audio engineer on the call says don't do anything, that I need to do something, that means I need to do something. Don't go fucking around with anything now. Fine. Fine. For you, I throw my F-bomb. The front.
Why don't you start swimming over here and fix it yourself?
All right. So
Don't tempt him.
that's true.
So while Shujin's fiddling, I'm just gonna say, yeah, if you have an aversion to blood, you probably don't want to be a trauma medic or anything like that. But your first clue should be when you're taking anatomy and physiology, which you have to take for biology. If you get kind of squicked out by having to dissect the cat, then medical is probably not your thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, the Peter Principle would definitely apply there, but I think before you get into that position where you're rising to your level of incompetence, by that point you've probably been weeded out in school, I would assume.
Well, one would think that, but don't forget, going up into medical school, Brigid was kind of behind the 8 ball to start off with.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what? One of my first photography jobs was doing. Well, not photography. It was more media jobs back in the days of video. Was filming dissections.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, you got to get your start somewhere.
All I'm saying is, if you're dissecting the cat, you get to the intestines, and suddenly music fills the room. Maybe the violin was your true calling.
That's a medical term.
That-
Well,
wow.
I went for a bit of a stretch on that one, but damn it.
Oh, that was okay.
Good
That
job.
part was even worse because you got to stretch the cat gut. Oh, you son of a bitch!
Down,
this
read
is
it.
what they used to make streams
Tennis,
out
anyone?
of. I'm just saying.
I picked the wrong day of the week to quit drinking.
And they also use cat gut in suture material. Hey. Or they used to. They can also use other materials, but it used to be cat gut.
Tennis rackets.
That too.
Joey?
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
If it's early, he's early. I'm not going any further with that because we don't need a copyright strike from George Robb.
George would be cool with it.
Actually, he'd probably strike me just because I can't sing on key to save my life.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So, anyway, yes, people should theoretically be weeded out through no fault of their own, other than, well, let's face it, if to use what we've got here, if you can't carry a tune, chances are you're not going to go into performance art at Juilliard. If you can't keep a beat with marching and keep a steady stride, you're probably not going to go into DCI, Drum Corps International.
Yeah.
If you can't draw a straight line, chances are you're not going to be going into, CAD. So it's entirely possible.
For you.
I'm sorry?
The computer does it for you in CAD.
Yes.
You'd have to be pretty fucking competent to make a straight line in CAD. Good.
Joseph,
Yeah.
I worked for a company that designed furniture,
Okay.
and what you just described,
Yes.
I have seen.
How is that? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
How is it possible? I don't know, because I don't know AutoCAD and had enough sense to stay the hell away from it, other
Yeah.
than installing it and making sure the damn thing worked.
You'd have
And that
to-
I could, well, actually, no, I used a capture program to actually pull a CAD drawing out and make it into a JPEG for something else, for another reason. But
Yes. And what I'm
here's
showing
one
for
for you.
everybody, real quick, what I'm
Okay,
showing
go
to
ahead.
everybody is a drawing tablet that I've had for several years. How can I prove that I've had it for several years? Well, the foamy piece that would have otherwise been for the fingers is destroyed itself for
Is that a Wacom?
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I got it for relatively cheap back when Comp USA went out of business.
I'm
Anyway.
still waiting for screens we can draw directly on.
I got bad news for you.
What?
The good news is they exist. The bad news is they are goddamned expensive.
Ugh. Okay.
I've seen exactly what $10,000 can get you, and that's impressive,
It's true.
but it's expensive.
I was going to say it's impressive, but it's also
$10,000
$1,000.
US, no less, and that's a midline. But be that as it may.
So one of the things that I saw was somebody working in a financial department, newly hired, who was hired for a position that got paid more than mine, asked for help on how to add two numbers together in Excel. Financial department, Excel. Add two numbers.
hold on.
Mm-hmm. I can believe it.
Yes.
I was trained as this on spreadsheets. I was trained on Lotus 123 in school.
I remember that. I used that on DOS.
So did I.
Shit, don't even get me started. I remember when there was the legal battle over it, but that's a whole other thing. Go on.
But everything else, going from Lotus to Quattro,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and then
Oh,
going
God.
from Quattro to Excel for me
All right.
was a lot of, and again, for this I credit my education. I did not learn, like, I learned software, yes, but the approach was, what am I trying to do, and what tools do I have to do it with?
That's
so
awesome.
so the question is, what do I need to do? I need to add these two numbers. Okay. What tools do I have? I have Excel. So rather than saying, well, I'm not Excel certified, it's more, how do I do this in Excel? Where do I go to find the thing? And the reason I'm saying this is because if I remember correctly, there was a difference in the command or in the formula structure between Lotus, Quattro, and Excel to do that same procedure, which means, and again, and this goes to that one lab that I had where we were given an objective: create a database that does this, and this. Here are 10 or 12 database applications. Do it in 10 of them.
Okay.
That was the thing. We had no training on any one of those, except actually no, we had one. It was Power Builder.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was an Oracle backend, which, hey, works great, but I learned the mechanics of how to do that kind of application development. But it was the mechanics of it. So this person who was trying to add two numbers was probably just never taught how to find out how in a program. It sounds to me like the teaching was a little bit different. It's not a question of learning a program. It's a question of how do you solve the problem.
So here's my question to you.
Mhm.
You are the owner of a company. You're interviewing a person. They are going to be a financial officer. They're going to be handling key financial details. They have 10, 15 years experience in the field in addition to a degree. And one of the requirements that was in the position for the job is a deep understanding of how to use Microsoft Office products. And you ask them to give you a demonstration, and they can't add two numbers in Excel. Do you hire them for that job?
Okay, I counter that with this question. Who else was interviewed? Did they actually have to give that demonstration in the interview?
And there is the problem.
And
Yeah.
in the world of modern day corporates, who is your daddy and what does he do?
And that is, I've been
That's
biting
part of
my
it.
I've been biting my tongue on this one for the whole thing about where does the Peter Principle fail? It fails with another little anecdote.
Mm-hmm.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
True that.
I was hoping to save that till towards the end of the show.
No, you're right on that one. By the way,
But
I was
There's another one to add on the end of that too.
Yeah, it's not who you know, it's who you blow.
It's also who you are.
Yeah.
Your genetic background is now a primary. It can be. It's not necessarily will be, but it can be a key factor. When you
And
have companies that only care about a particular metric, they rule out the best candidate.
There's also another one.
Sometimes.
There's
You
also
know,
another one.
If you want to
Tech?
dig,
from what you just said and from what Joey was talking about last night, I'm thankful that somebody else gets it.
Yep. Joseph, you were trying to get in.
Sorry.
yeah, well, if you want to dig down a bit, it all comes down to basically the people hiring you. it comes down to their level of confidence or competence, and they just, they can't go outside of their own bubble. I mean, what do they have to judge you on? Only what they know, and what they know is basically, comparatively speaking, whether
Yeah,
you're the ideal candidate, they're looking for probably social traits more than anything. And because they're hiring you because they don't know how to do what they're hiring you to do. So unless you've got somebody else on the panel that does know about stuff like this, and yeah, you're right, Tech, that yeah, it rarely actually getting hired for a job. It's actually rare that your actual qualifications come into consideration, or can even be judged.
Well, again, I kind of go off my own experience on this one. A couple of interviews that I've had in the technical sector. There was one that I did for a contracting company, and they only asked me one question. Was in Windows NT, how do you add a printer?
NT4?
Yes.
Okay.
NT4.
Okay.
So we are going back a little bit.
No.
we're going back to the 90s.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there's a reason I wanted to make that distinction, because for those people who know these platforms, know full well that the first question out of any candidate's mouth should be to clarify the question posed to them. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get that as the interviewer, that should already be a red flag.
Anyways, I answered the question, and the guy says, well, have you heard about doing it this way? And he actually explained a shortcut. And I said, no, I've never heard of that one before. That sounds really cool. And the impression the guy got from it was that, okay, he's got a bit of book smarts. He needs a little bit of street smarts.
And he's willing to learn.
That is it. That is the key, especially in like tech in our fields, is that if the candidate can demonstrate a willingness to learn, or can at least project that they want to learn, or that they're eager to learn new things, that actually goes a longer way, because then they can be shaped into a more effective employee, because what they're learning will be, it'll be more company centric. Now, that's a double-edged sword, especially to the candidate, because okay, great, they'll get the job, they get the paycheck, and trust me, those paychecks are beautiful. But if it ever pops up that suddenly you no longer want to work there, and you've spent the better part of a decade at that place, do you still have enough of that dynamic, willing to learn attitude to jump into something else?
Yeah, there was a thing that came up in again in the West Wing at one point. The question was posed: if you have two baseball players, one who's got perfect form running and the other one that doesn't, and they both get to first base in the same amount of time, who do you hire? And the answer was the guy with bad form, because once you teach them the correct form, they're going to beat the other guy. And it's the same kind of thing. You can have somebody who, again, has got book smarts, but maybe doesn't know all the ins and outs that people have figured out because they're not that documented. They're more unofficial or, community based. But, you got a good starting off point, and that's a wonderful thing. But
yeah, but on that same note, using that same analogy of the guy who's willing to learn, if they had asked you two questions instead, before they got to the printer one, they asked you a different question of, how do you open up the Internet Explorer browser? And you said, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think the interview would have really gone on much longer than that?
No.
Okay, I work with people who get paid more money than me, who should know how to do their jobs. And yet they come to me to try to get me to do things for them that they should already know how to do. And I'm not talking about how to factor in a percentage on a particular tax form or whatever, but how to open up calculator on their computer.
Yeah.
Or, oh, my Internet Explorer browser shortcut on my desktop disappeared. How do I get it back? Well,
Okay.
first
No.
off, let's start by finding it in the
No, no,
in the
don't,
start
don't,
menu.
don't.
It's in the
go into-
start menu?
Don't go through the routine, please.
No, all I want to know is, and this comes down to another question. What is their job?
That
It depends on which person we're talking about.
Well, no,
Well-
but Tech, this is my point. And this is something I've run into with people who worked in marketing, who worked in accounting, who worked in purchasing. These are people to whom the computer was a tool. These people were also a fair bit older than me at the time. And I knew of at least two of them who were technophobes. These were people who had a computer forced on them while I was working there. And they were scared of the machine and they thought it was a delicate flower. It was an orchid to them. So when a shortcut went missing, yeah, it was a major thing to them because they didn't have the experience of having a home computer and having blown one up. You know, this is what I used to tell people in training. I said, look, you've got the software now. This is my challenge to you by next week. Break it. I freaking dare you to break it. And if you do, we're going to go through how to fix it. So these people are probably already running high stress jobs. A lot of they're freaking out. Maybe they've got a deadline and then suddenly something changes. You know, again, I've worked tech support for a manufacturing company and for another company with people whose primary job was not to sit in front of a computer, but was to design a gas compression system or to purchase 16 tons of 1.125" thick particle board. You know, to them, the computer just has to frickin' work. They don't have time to go in and do an in-depth analysis of how to start a web browser. It should just be there. That's what they expect. So, you know, to look at them and go, oh, you're just a tech tart. No, you don't say that to these people.
yeah,
And again, that's coming off of about 20 some odd years of experience working with users who at the time were tech tards, but also had a shit ton more power than I ever did at those companies.
Yeah, there are a lot of different pieces that, as always, goes into the whole nuance part, and because there are and have been people who came up through the paper and pen ledgers and such, the transition is a really difficult thing, and the younger ones, some of them don't have the same level of experience that we think they should have. All that changes as time goes on because that's what the new tool is. Brigid, go right ahead.
And I'm one of those paper and pencil people out there, who have been around this since 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot has changed between 86 to today. So don't start with tech card stuff, okay? I'm just saying.
And I can understand the older generation.
Let her
We're
go.
going to mute your ass. Okay, we're going to mute your ass. What I would like to say is, as far as HR, those are some of the people I've had the worst experiences with because a lot of them are looking to hire someone and they're not even sure what qualifications are needed to hire somebody. And this is a personal anecdote going back decades, but a job that I had back when my daughter was born was, starting out with an insurance company and all that. And I had gotten promoted, went on to, information systems, all that other stuff. And because of downsizing, about 8 years later, I was put back in the same position where I had started with the same supervisor doing the same job that I had, gotten promoted from years ago. And the HR person didn't think I was qualified to go back to my original job because she wanted me to do a 10 key and typing test. And my supervisor was like, she wants you to what? And I was like, yeah. She needs me to take a 10 key and typing test to go back to this job that you want me to come back to that I was really good at. And she was like, you have got to be kidding me. Needless to say, I didn't go and take that test and everything. And my boss just laughed her out of the room. But she was like, just go away. Stop.
It's funny, through all what we're talking about, it's basically, it's again the same thing repeated. It's the person deciding is the one least qualified to decide the value of the person working for them. And I mean that that's something that really has to change, because I mean, like Tech asked earlier. I mean, well, I forget who said it, but anyways, why am I doing the job? What am I getting paid for? And there seems to be a general inability to decide that, to judge the value of. I mean, there's two ways to approach this. When you're doing a job, you can either learn to use the tool, or quote unquote go through the motions, or you can really have a profound understanding of what your actual role is in the workplace, and being curious about, if you don't know them already, about any existing tool to better get to that end.
Joe, you were looking to get in?
Me? No.
Oh, I thought I heard you. I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
No worries.
And you're right. It is about getting the right people to get the right place, having the right attitude and things like that. And I've seen that. I've experienced personally, firsthand, going into interviews where they said, look, we like what your resume had to say, but we have some questions and we want to know, honest answers about your knowledge on this, that, and the other thing. And I clarified where I had book learned versus hands-on experience. And they're like, well, we'll give you hands-on experience on that. So that's not a problem. And you have plenty of time to make mistakes, and you're fine there. Here, we want you to brush up on this before we let you start handling this stuff. So this should be your primary focus, and this you don't know, but that's okay. We're going to teach you that. Now, and they did, and they followed through with it. But I've also seen companies where they take people on board. They've, the people in charge obviously weren't qualifying the potential new hires properly. And then when somebody that they've just invested money in doesn't know how to do something, they'll throw them at IT and say, oh, here, you teach them. And that's not IT's job. IT's not the tutoring service. They're there to fix the things that aren't working. So when these people who don't know how to use the tool, oh, I don't know how to use this hammer. This hammer's broken. No, the hammer's not broken. You just don't know how to use it. Well, can you show me? Here, sit down and do it for me. It's like, no, that's not teaching, and that's not what we do. We repair the hammer if it breaks. Have a nice day. And then IT in many companies get thrown under the bus for not being helpful.
Yep.
But I've been in that situation so many times, and I have to insist about the teaching part, and I'm actually going through the motions myself, because let's just say that it saves you a hell of a lot of work in the future.
Yeah, and I tried to be proactive at my last company with something like that. It was more the software we were using, and we were bringing in a lot of new people who didn't really have time to get onboarded properly with our software. And boy, we were once known as mentor, and that was kind of the idea, is we would mentor the next generation. So I came up with an idea to do a little bit of onboarding. I got pretty good at Camtasia, if I do say so myself. You know, and let me tell you something. Those guys that do the little picture-in-picture while they're displaying stuff on the screen, yeah, that's not easy.
No.
That is not easy at all.
Just
Hmm?
real quickly, whoever it is that's got water running, please tell me that you're pouring something that's not from a biological container.
It's coffee, sir.
Thank you. I was really worried there for a couple seconds.
And you know, Dalan, that's key right there. There's a lot of people who get onboarded, as you said,
Oh, but
and
wait.
they're not. They're told they're going to get training,
Yeah.
and then they sit around and they wait and they wait. Why aren't you getting into work? Well, I was told there's going to be training. Read the book and get to work.
Yeah. Well,
You said you're an independent learner. Get to work.
Yeah.
yeah,
No, you've got-
as a
you've got
mutual
the
friend of
people-
ours,
you've
as a
got-
mutual friend of ours once said, it gets better. Because I ran this by our documentation person. Just to see, can I get some branding for this? What is it? Oh, it's a video, for training. You want to talk about getting thrown under the bus? This stuff was supposed to be internal. She did the stuff for external. And her nose got put so far out of joint because what I was producing was aesthetically, acoustically, and in terms of quality of content was light years ahead of anything she had done. I mean, she'd done some great PDFs of our manuals and stuff like that. But when it came to, the actual video demonstrations of, okay, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. By that point, I'd been working for that company for 6 years. I knew that software inside out, backwards and forwards. She never did. She was the training officer for when we went on site, but she was not the one, spending hours and hours putting demonstration companies together on this thing. So, I mean, I was coming at it from a bit of experience. Anyways, yeah. TLDR, she got pissed. I got thrown under the bus for the 4th time at that company and just said, I went to my supervisor at the time and said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. You want a video done, you want something done, then you get it cleared before I touch that program ever again for this company. And, it was sad because I was having a blast with those things. Learning something new, having to teach myself how to do video editing. It was cool. But
Digital
was-
dog cow would have liked you.
It wasn't your job, basically.
well, the thing is, Joseph, it kind of was because training and mentoring coworkers was part of the deal.
Okay.
And also us training our clients was also part of the deal. What technically isn't part of the deal was coming up with our own training materials that speaks the language of the client. Because, and trust me on this one, when you're dealing with somebody from Iowa versus dealing with somebody from California, there are some differences. Linguistically, accents. Oh my God, the accents. Oh,
Yep.
Beer.
But again, it's another situation where you judge what there is to do and the job you're hired to do, and you look at the tools you got to do it, and if you don't have the tools, you adapt because
yeah.
your goal, you know what your goal is.
Yeah, but the trouble is when I try to adapt, I inadvertently, pushed myself into somebody else's Venn diagram, even though that was not the intention. But they took it that way. They ran it up the flagpole, and I was told, don't do it. I'm like, all right, you're lost.
Yeah.
I still have those videos because, well, they were done on my home computer with my own software, and I hang on to them so that I can see what I did, so that if I ever get back into doing it, As a matter of fact, I owe somebody an Audacity video. A podcaster, friend that was going to start doing his own. He wanted to start doing long form narration, and he wants to know how to do like editing and stuff in Audacity. And he says to me, "Well, you know a little bit about that, don't you?" And then he references, all the not for this show, but for other things I've done. Like, yeah, I've done a couple of files here and there. Yeah. And of course, we were going to get together. We were going to do a big sit down, me, him, and his girlfriend, and go through all of it. And then the coof happened.
Mm. Now,
That's
yes, real quick.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty fucked up when in the workplace, how can your job not overlap with somebody else's? I mean, how could that be?
I got one
How
word.
does that affect the actual functioning of the workplace? I mean, it has nothing to do with work at all. That's the most annoying part.
I got a word for that. Unions.
Well, no,
We
it's
don't
just
have
like
down here.
people. It's again, here we are in survive by imitation world. Everybody is putting each other in little boxes, and you have to stay in your box, and I don't know anything outside of my box, and your box is touching mine, so I'm gonna, scream blue murder. It has more to do with human behavior than it does to do with doing anything, actually. Because basically, either we're making the workplace better for each other, or we're making it better for ourselves. And I mean, in all these stories I'm hearing tonight, I mean, I just hear people trying to stick to their own comfort bubble and, worrying about their own ass and not really understanding what their own role is in the company.
Well, there can be that. What I've kind of come to see over the last few years, though, is that I think that part of the biggest problem with the way that the Peter Principle has failed is that the institutions themselves are the ones who are completely short-circuiting the process. Now, the Peter Principle itself, how that operates, is not necessarily a bad thing. If you're in an organization where you move up, you're doing a good job. You're moving up, you're doing a good job. You move up, yeah, not so much. If you're allowed to backtrack to somewhere where you were good, the organization succeeds. When that happens, that's good, because if you're bad at a job, well, you've just had all that investment time, as far as the company is concerned, absolutely wasted, because the person is not going to be efficient. They're probably going to get burnt out, probably going to want to leave, and well, then that's all that investment. That's why. So the problem that I've seen, and feel free to work with this one. Over the years, and we've talked about this. Over the years, it's gone less from a company will invest in its employees, train them up, have them have corporate loyalty. We've talked about that, IBM in particular. Mm. And it's been much more I'm just going to move laterally from one company to another, maybe upwards a level from one company to another. And the reason why this tends to be, again, my view, my opinion, is that these employees, the newer ones, are coming in at a depreciated salary to start off with. And the only way of moving ahead is to say, look, I'm not going to stay here because you don't want to pay me enough. I'm going to move somewhere else that's going to promise to pay me a little bit more. But it's still a depressed amount of money by comparison to what it had been for the folks that had been there for 10, 15 years in some cases. The ones who've made it. And why is there not loyalty to move up? Because you're not getting paid. So you're not getting paid, so why stay and move sideways? Which then just exasperates the problem because, well, if you haven't been with us long enough, why should we pay you more? And to kind of backtrack a little bit, the people who don't have Excel experience or proficiency who otherwise should, well, they can be brought on board. They've got all the other stuff, and you pay them less because, well, they're not meeting all of the goals. So when it's time for, oh my God, a raise, God, I haven't seen a raise and I couldn't tell you how long, then that raise can be subsequently depressed a little bit because you're starting from a lower dollar value for compensation. The way that you're laughing about this, Brigid, something says to me that you've kind of latched onto this and said, oh boy, do I know this.
Well, I mean, just from, having worked in other places, I have seen where people, were not particularly good at their job anyway when they were hired, but somehow or another managed to keep moving up in ranks. And I don't know if it was just because they knew somebody or because they, stuck around for a long time or whatever.
Kissed the right asses. And end up as like the CEO of the company and then have the company go bankrupt because they had no business being CEO and didn't know what the hell they were doing.
And maybe it wasn't even nefarious. I mean,
It
kissing
wasn't
asses and all.
nefarious. It was
But
just
I mean,
the person that had no business being in that position.
yeah,
And it
but
was a
it's
nice
also
person.
it's the fault. The fault is in two places, or could be in two places. I mean, it could be in the fault of the person, being incompetent, and also the management or whoever their superior is being just incapable of judging what they do or the quality of what they do. And
Person
if
didn't get there
somebody spends a
alone.
certain amount of time in a workplace, it's kind of, if you extract from the equation the actual quality of the work they do, they've been here 10 years, so theoretically they must be very competent in what they do, and theoretically somebody with that quote unquote experience should ascend to a higher position. And I mean, that's basically the RH or HR, yeah.
Yeah,
That's in
HR
French.
mindset. Yeah.
And they're the ones who decide, but they're not the ones who should decide. I would rather my colleagues decide the quality of my work than
Mhm.
my management.
Oh yeah, yeah. And another thing too, at least in academia, that we're seeing is a lot of MBAs are now running the schools um, you know, rather than having them run like institutions of higher education and higher learning, they're run on a business model. And so you have a lot of people who are in charge now that are making business decisions for the school and not really teaching. And so they have, they're making a lot of money to try to get as much money, from students as possible without actually giving them anything in value in return. And that's a huge problem. I think that I don't know how to put this without offending people with MBAs. I think that there are too many people now with MBAs that are only taught to that degree from a business model and don't have any other relevant experience to go with it. And I think in the long run, it's going to be harmful to business in general and society. I mean, sure they might make more money, but I think we're all going to suffer for it.
Yeah, there's a story I want to relate to everybody really quickly. Well, as quickly as I can, only because it kind of touches on part of this. Back in the late 80s, the Commodore Computers group, folks remember them from the Commodore 64, Commodore had brought out their own personal computer, the Amiga. It was one of the most technologically advanced as far as to audiovisual at the time, considering the time frame that we're talking about. The machines were incredible. They were used for they were used for special effects a lot for what was Babylon 5,
Yeah,
all the
video
CGI
toaster.
stuff, the video toaster, which was added onto it. Yep. Video rendering farms before there were real rendering farms. But the problem was Commodore had a hard time in marketing. There were some, I forget who it was that ended up taking over the company shortly in the early 90s, I think is what it was. Yeah, in the early 90s. And their plan was to drive the stock price down as high, as low as they could with mismarketing, shall we say, so that they could then buy the stock themselves, sell the company off to somebody else to perk it back up again, and then they would be able to make out a mint because, well, their stock price has now gone, through the roof. And in the process, ended up hampering it to such a degree that Commodore went bankrupt. And they did it for greed, because it's not the first time that they had done that. They did it specifically for greed. And the reason why I'm bringing this out is, well, partly time enough so that Brigid's got time enough to read her PM because reasons, but also that, if part of the problem is that the companies themselves are artificially depressing the money, the compensation for people, which, let's be accurate about it, has been happening since 1980. And yes, you can actually see the graphs about it. What is it that the people who are trying to get into the workforce, what is it that they need to do in order to get, properly compensated? Not just in money, but in actually caring about work, caring about doing what it is that they're trying to do. Dalan, you talked about the travel stuff, and it always sounded to me like you actually cared what ended up happening for the people that your product serviced.
Well, yeah. And it had nothing to do with, okay, it was selfish of me personally. It was actually vanity on my part. Because when I was down there, I was the face of that company. But I was also me. If I didn't leave there with them being happy with what happened, I could give two shits about what they thought about me in terms of the company. I was worried about they were going to look at me like I was some kind of idiot. So, and yeah, I also did care because, hey, look, the company I worked for moved people. It moved people on regular transit buses that, you see everywhere. But it was also people who needed help to get to appointments, to clinics, to dialysis. That was a big one for us, was dialysis. Or seniors that, had to go from one place to another. And, having been a person who had to take transit for the longest time, when those systems don't work, you feel it.
Yep.
We had a transit strike here quite a few years ago before I had a car. And to get to work was, well, let's say if I was going to hoof it, it would have taken me 2 hours to walk to work. My wife at the time, she had to drive me to work, and then she had to come and pick me up afterwards. Or I would drive her to work, then go to work, and then at the end of the day go, and she worked across town from me. So then I had to fight traffic to get her. It would take me an hour to get to her, and then another hour for us to get home. By the time we got home, we were both tired, angry, frustrated, a little snippy at each other. But we had a dog and a cat, so everything was fine. You know, because I mean, honestly, you see the puppy dog, it's like, oh, okay, you know, I can't stay mad anymore. You know,
Or you could just
or
pump
you
the
know,
puppy.
yeah, or the cat looks at me and says, "Smile, or I claw your balls off." All right, you know. Look, she had that effect. Okay.
That's a
It's
gentle
cat.
way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, oh God, I love my cat. I miss her. Um, but no, I mean, I took pride in my work. I believed in what I wanted to do. I believed in what I was doing, and I've made some very good friends as a result of it. I actually have a couple of them on Facebook that we still talk. Anytime I'm in Oklahoma City, I just have to ping this one person, and I get a steak dinner out of the deal.
And Joe, admittedly, the job of working in the military, well, for lack of a better term, as a grunt, is generally speaking, protect the guy next to you at whatever costs need to be done sometimes.
Pretty much.
It's not.
And considering that when you're living that in that close proximity to other people, and maybe you don't always agree with each other, yeah, that can be grating on some nerves. But regardless of that, when it's work time, it's work time.
And
Everything else gets put aside.
yeah. And Brigid, again, when it's somebody who's working in the medical area, generally speaking, your biggest hope is always, I don't want to screw up. I want this person to be better. Not necessarily well, but better, because better is hopefully attainable and well isn't always. I'm sorry, I had to deal with something about oncologists at one point the past
Yeah.
week. It's kind of on my head a little bit that way. That, you know,
Oh,
you can't always have well, but you can have comfortable.
yeah, you can have better, and especially if you're talking about oncology patients or anything like that, you have to change your perception of what constitutes a win or a victory in some ways.
Yeah.
You hope that your patients do eventually get better, but a win is having them make it long enough to see a graduation or a wedding or something like that.
And Tech and Joe dealing with technology. Perfect example is wiring up an entire room, an actual tech room, making the drop, making sure that you got the switches calibrated, you've got all the UDP set up correctly, firewalls are in place, keys are assigned properly, all the terminators are put into place, and oh crap, I actually got a crossover cable instead of a straight through. All right, fine, let's go ahead and swap it out. All right, everything's good, everything's done, green across the board, let's go. Knowing full well that your job is not to assist an individual person, it's to assist any and everybody that handles the hardware that you just made sure is right. And I have to imagine that, in moments like that, it's got to be fulfilling to be able to go, I got every green light the first time through this time. That's got to be a good feeling.
I'm wondering if empathy comes as baggage to critical thought. Because, I mean, if we look at our own, it's funny, like what you were talking about down before about you're actually feeling the pain, you're feeling the experience of people like taking public transport and all that. Well, imagine you didn't give a shit about that. You're only worried about your own ass, and you didn't care about like if you didn't actually try to read other people's minds. But do you see what I'm saying? It's like it's at the same time, it's an empathy, is it? At the same time, not empathy, I should say.
No. That's that. I think that is
It's
the
not
right term.
empathy. And Sam Harris had a great podcast about that. The difference between empathy and compassion. And compassion is actually, it's kind of a sense of responsibility involved, which means empathy, you can feel for somebody else without doing shit for them. But compassion is like, you feel motivated to actually do something about that. But even for that to happen, you really have to analyze the situation, judge everything for yourself.
Yeah. And
Whereas somebody who's doing a job and they're basically going through the motions, doing the right, quote unquote, right things to, keep their ass in that position, keep their paycheck coming in every month, well, they're going to behave completely different.
Yeah, and it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act between the two, because
you have to operate between both worlds, because probably your management is they have no fucking idea what you do. They're not even able to judge what you do, so they have to conform to.
Well, and this is what actually killed me at my job, and this is why I'm not working right now, is because there were a couple of clients that I was trying to deal with, and the software they bought was, let's say, 80% compatible with what they needed. They nickeled and dimed us for the last 20%, and I tried to compromise. I tried to tell them, look, this is the way it is, and they refused to sign on the dotted line. I tried to come up with solutions, and they dumped these clients on me and said they were problem clients, and said, we want you to handle them. I'm like, okay, I'll do my best. January 20th of this year, they said, yeah, it's not working out. You're not pulling in the numbers that we need you to pull, so goodbye. And it's like, you put me in that position, and now you're blaming me for basically something that was my manager's fault for screwing them over in the first place.
First question I got is, at that point, were you sales?
And that's the other thing. And
see what I said earlier about make sure that you clarify the questions?
Yeah, well, my girlfriend Kieran will say the same thing. One of the things that's happening now in a lot of companies is the upsell, which is, you're not necessarily a salesperson, but you are in contact with the client. So you should be able to weasel in, not their words, but mine, an advertisement for an upgrade or another software that these people could use. And that was another thing, and that was actually added onto our end of year performance review, was that, did you successfully upsell any products to the client? And Karen is going through the same thing. She works at customer service for a company, and there's now an expectation that she has to upsell clients who are already in financial distress, given current circumstances, who are being called because they have a huge balance owing on their bill. Like, she helps with customers, but she also tries to help with, okay, you've got a $300 outstanding balance. I mean, she's not collections, but we all dread that phone call. So you're going to tell somebody who's already broke, who feels they're already paying too much for a service, to spend more money?
Yeah.
And this is, and I think where that's coming from is that salespeople are, and again, if any salespeople are listening to this, actually, you do need to hear this. But if anybody on the panel is a salesperson, I apologize in advance for what I'm about to say. Most salespeople I know are so out of touch when it comes to knowing a customer's needs these days, because they don't understand. They understand a business model, but they don't understand the business. And there's a huge difference.
And they don't understand how to qualify a customer either.
Bingo. Or, but
Again,
yeah.
we're going back to the same thing. I mean, again, you're either you take the task and the responsibility of judging the situation for yourself, or you don't and you conform to whatever behavior patterns you were trained in.
But you see, this is where I rose to my own level of incompetence. From a technical standpoint, okay, site survey on the server, got it. Critical review of their systems, their business practices, what they need versus what our software can do. Can I match those up on a graph? Yes. Okay, fine, perfect, boom. We've got a 99.9% match for this client. Okay, you get on the machine via remote desktop and do your thing. I go in, I do my thing. We get on a WebEx. I train them for 6 weeks. You know, I spend a week, okay, do this, do this, do this. Now, I'm giving you a week. I expect this to be done. This is your homework. When I talk to you again 1 week from Monday, I'm going to expect that this shit's done. If it's not done, you better be calling me and asking me, and I better be asking you why you're not doing this. That was the way it is. But then they said, okay, now we're going to up you a little bit, and we're going to make you into a kind of sort of salesman. Now, you don't have to upsell, but you have to upsell.
Right.
Yep.
And and you got any problems with escalation on these clients? Yeah, just talk to your project manager. My project manager was an idiot. He got it. He had his PMP, which is, project manager. I actually was thinking about getting that. But he was too busy chasing those top 10 purse strings, the big clients. He was chasing the whales while I was still trying to get these other ones done. And I literally had no support from anybody in my department. And I was on LinkedIn a couple of days ago, and I was talking with one of the guys I used to work with. I shifted departments about 2 years prior to what's going on now, because I thought it would be a nice business move up. And I said, if I hadn't done that, we'd still be working together. And he says, yeah, and I miss you. And I just went, sometimes the decision will bite you in the ass. And when you actually realize when it does and how hard it does it, you just really start questioning everything.
I told my manager no. I specifically said no, thank you. I was given a job opportunity to expand my skill set for the good of the company by taking on a particular project. And I said, I'm sorry, but I don't have any training in that field. And with my current workload, I don't have open availability to receive training for it. Therefore, I'm not qualified. Well, don't you have an IT background? There is a wide variety of IT backgrounds, and I do not have a background that qualifies me for this project.
Yeah, that's like saying,
but then
you
again,
drive a
I've
car, you
learned
should be able to drive an 18-wheeler.
Right.
Then again,
Well-
I've worked to speak managerial, so I've learned to pick up the buzzwords. And so I'm doing buzzword bingo back and forth. And finally he goes, well, you need to accept this because it needs to get done. And I said, no, thank you. And he goes, is that your answer? I said, yes. No, thank you. I do not want this project. I am not qualified for this project. And I have a workload that forbids me from being able to be trained on this project. If something changes in the future, I might reconsider, but I will not make promises, and I will not accept this project. I'm afraid you will.
But it sounds like he had the option.
Yeah.
I almost didn't. It almost got dropped in my lap. But
I guess what I'm asking is
I
if
brought
you
in.
had.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I guess what I'm asking is if you had said no, was there any possibility that they would have fired you for saying no?
They could have, but I think they were too afraid to because I've already trained one person to do what I do, and they were taken elsewhere, and there's really nobody to backfill me at this point.
You don't have a PFY currently on deck.
No, I don't have a PFY on deck that can backfill me.
Anybody that wants to know about that, look it up. PFY.
Yes.
Yeah. See, for me, it was this new department opened, and I was not asked. I actually asked to join because I thought it would be a nice opportunity. It was one of those things where I thought the grass was greener on the other side of the fence, and it turned out to be, well, it was quite literally a career-ending mistake. It just took 2 years to figure it out.
Yeah,
So-
I know that feeling all too well, unfortunately, from...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
see,
you
I
know-
may have destroyed my forward momentum as well because I haven't been offered another project ever since that interactment, and that was back in February.
The funny thing is, I've been watching. I get the occasional. Well, actually, I get inundated with job ads because I subscribe to everything these days because I'm desperate as hell. The company that let me go has been looking for people to fill a similar position as to the one I left.
You have lots of experience there.
Well, so if there is a little bit of Schadenfreude for me for that, it's that they had a hard time trying to replace me.
Right.
May I offer up? Apply. Put in that your requirement is for a 25% over whatever it was that you were earning before, and justify it with, I know your systems. Obviously, you don't have anybody that can do the job as well because you still have the position open. You're going to go ahead and give me my old job back, and I'm getting the raises that I should have gotten from the get-go.
Yeah, you see, here's the thing.
Unless they, of course, gave you a DNR.
Well, no, but if it's the same position that I had in that same department, I don't want it. If I was to go back to my original position in the transit area, not in this medical division, but back in the transit area where I was a rock star by comparison, then fine.
Okay.
Under the proviso that yes, I have the medical experience, but you cannot speak with me directly. You want my help on something, you talk to my manager, who is in a different department, and she approves whether or not, after talking to me and saying, can you do it? Do you have the time? Or more importantly, do you feel like it? If I could get in with something like that, I'd consider it. Just because, again, I made some great friends there. It was a good time. The money was good. But that particular department, I want nothing to do with them anymore.
Yep.
But
Well,
unfortunately, but because I have the experience, there can be some of that Venn diagramming that we were talking about before.
no, I got you. I was going to say, well, if they do training, you could go through training long enough to get a couple of paychecks out of them. Maybe it's just me just being a dick about it because, reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that would mess up his benefits. He can't do that.
Yeah, that's a whole other... There's only so much dickishness that I can get away with, too. I know, I've got standards. Go
You
fig.
can't go somewhere and then quit because then you don't get an employment that way. If money
There's-
weren't an object and you didn't need the job, then yeah, I would do it just
Well,
to screw it.
Yeah, there is that. That's a
Yeah.
whole other thing.
Yeah.
We're getting really
But
close to...
But it is satisfying though that if you have been let go from a position like that, to see several months later they're still advertising for a replacement, still haven't found one.
Yeah.
It does make you go.
Yeah,
There is that.
To me right now, it's more of just it's my middle finger at that point.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The Italian
But-
in me is cheering you on. You know that.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's like, yeah, I missed the paycheck, and I'm definitely qualified to go back there, but given the opportunity, would I? I would have to know exactly where I'm going, who I'd be working with, what's expected, and what are the chances that I'm going to get thrown into the same situation that I was in before, where you put me up against something that I was not qualified to do, with no support, no administrative anything, and basically being stonewalled by somebody. I mean, my supervisor was an arrogant ass. My manager was too busy having this guy's head between his legs, figuratively speaking. You know, and it's like, yeah, it was those two guys. It was their show, and so long as they got done their stuff at the end of the day, that's all that mattered. You know, the rest of us, yeah, you know, you're just the peons. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
if I knew I wasn't going back to that department and that I didn't have to deal with them at all, perfect. I'd be in there like a dirty shirt. Because again, the paycheck was good.
Yeah,
I've also
it's a-
seen this happen another way too, and that is somebody will get hired or taken a chance on, and it's not a fit. It's not good. But rather than get the person back to where they were, the higher up which would involve the higher up who transitioned them to admit a mistake on their part in their judgment, they keep them there, or they even promote them to somewhere else. Because, hey, look, you know, this person got a promotion. The person I took a chance on, they're doing really well. Yeah, no, the problems they're running into are caused by the rest of the department. They're not being helpful, or, you know, IT's not teaching them how to use the new system that they were supposed to teach them. The new system being, you know, Excel. Yeah, or something to that effect. And it's a case of management just not willing to admit they made a mistake, and they're harming the department, or they're harming the project, or they're harming people's morale, which could go back to harming the department and the project. And I've actually seen people who were taken under somebody's wing. They were a bad fit. Management refused to admit it, and things just started going downhill. And the blame was laid on everybody else, except for that person and that manager, because that manager couldn't have either one of them looking bad, because I can't make mistakes. I'm a manager.
I'll be the first to say, look, Bob Ross was right. We don't make mistakes, only have little accidents. But he was talking about art, people.
Or children, in some cases.
That too.
Yeah. We're getting to, we're at the top of the hour, which means we got to see about closing up shop over here. I don't have very much of anything else to add to stuff myself personally, other than to say very quickly, because it is the holiday season, and we know full well that holiday workers, temp workers, are going to be put through the ringer. Anybody that is, first, you have our sympathies. Seriously, some of us have done it. Some of us have been through it multiple seasons. But just be safe more than anything else. And I don't say that just from the medical side of it all. The first seasonal job I had was pushing carts when I first came up here in the winter.
Ooh.
Just outside of Buffalo. That would have been the winter of 92, 93. And there's quite a lot of snow just off the shore of the lake. And the real estate company that handled the plaza didn't do jack shit for plowing out the snow. You guys are cart pushers. You guys especially, you be careful. Please be careful. I'll give you guys anything that needs to be finished off. Joey, I don't know that you've necessarily got anything considering, but any last for you to throw off of?
For those who are still having to work retail, especially in this kind of situation,
Yeah.
all I can say is Kenneth Branagh, man. What can I say? When that man reads Shakespeare, he reads some Shakespeare.
It's okay that I don't get whatever reference you're making, right?
Same one that I made a couple times thus far, but yeah. Then when he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, "These wounds I had on 20's Black Friday."
Would you like to see how I got these scars? Sorry, it's a bottle of it's a Bill Murray trachea
Yeah.
destroying device. That's the level of movies I'm at this point. Leave me alone. Shut up. I'm all right.
Can't blame you.
I'm all right. Dalan, any quick last for you?
Yeah. We've all heard Wheaton's rule.
Mm.
And a Canadian musician, has put it to song.
Nice.
Yeah. And I just want to pass that on to everybody else. We're coming up on the holiday season. Black Friday's over, which means the Christmas season has already begun in your guys' part of the world. Don't be a dick. People right now are terrified. Whether it's substantiated or not is not a topic for discussion tonight. The simple fact is, people are scared, rational or otherwise, they are scared. And if you feel that your freedom has the right to override a person's fear and wanting to have their own sense of self, of well-being, stay home and order from Amazon, you inconsiderate schmuck. Because honestly, if you're going to be that much of a dick, you don't deserve social interaction, period. Look, I'm all for freedom. I'm all for expression. I don't like the fact that I have to go out and wear a mask. I don't like the fact that we have to do social distancing. I don't like the fact that I'm probably not going to go see my family at Christmas this year because of this damn thing. But you know what? It is what it is. And spouting your conspiracy theories and this, that, and the other thing is not going to change it. So calm down. Do what you got to do to make sure that you're alive and that other people will stay alive, and just stop being an asshole, please.
Hear, hear. Joseph, any last item for you?
Yeah, I'm all good. But once again, we seem to be operating. Critical thinkers seem to be they have to operate between two worlds. And the majority are majority of people seem to only be able to judge the value of whatever's in their own head and only care about their own asses. And navigating through all that can be stressing. Let's just say we have a lot of work to do.
Sure that.
Just imagine if everybody thought as, our conversation today, imagine if that sort of conversation was the general consensus. We all felt like that. I think the world would be a much better place.
Yeah. Yeah. Brigid?
Yeah, just everybody hang in there, and it's going to be a long, hard slog between now and Christmas. And then between Christmas and probably spring. I just, try to be gentle with yourself and with each other and try to get through this the best that you can. This is all new for everybody. Especially with the economy being as bad as it is, plus people afraid to go out and other people being afraid of being told that they can't go out. A lot of stress. Just be good to each other, especially be good to yourself. In fact, Mike Pence and Amy Cutvid Barrett. She will always and forevermore be known to me as Amy Cutvid Barrett.
Yeah, there's good reason for that one. And Tech.
I've said the things I've said before, and they still hold true. But what I haven't said is that, this is history repeating itself. 1918, 1990, the influenza pandemic hit. Multiple states, mask laws, arrests, fines, everything. We've already been through this. If there were people who were in their 120s right now, 100 teens, 120s, 130s, they could tell us all about it firsthand rather than making us read newspapers and seeing old articles. They could tell us about the loss of life, the loss of loved ones and things. And they would probably do facepalm, or head desk, those sorts of things. We didn't learn. At least those in positions of authority chose to either A, not learn, or B, ignore. Those are the only two answers. And for some of them, probably both. Because right now, we have the vast repository of the sum of human knowledge that is indexed and searchable and available to be found just about darn near anywhere in the world. That's called the internet. And all its vast repositories on it, whether it's Wikipedia or Google search engine or whatever it is that you like to use. The problem is that the librarians, humans in general, have a tendency to not put as much focus and trust into the facts because it doesn't make them feel good. They'd rather feel good than be honest with themselves and with other people. So that's why we have these groups, these anti-vaxxers, flat earthers, and all this other crap. The only reason they're denying things is because it doesn't make them feel good to accept it. Well, you decide who you're going to be. I'm wrong a lot. When I find out about it, I try to correct it. I try to remember that correction. My brain's imperfect. I have trouble remembering things. But I'm willing to eat humble pie. Unfortunately, as we saw in one photo of Donald Trump in the White House, humble pie was not served by McDonald's that day.
Good catch back on that.
You're welcome.
For everybody that's been with us through this, yeah, this topic was definitely not our usual fare, and truth be told, maybe not something that I'm going to end up covering again, unless something very specific comes up about it. But for those of you that are kind of wondering, yeah, I think collectively we've all noticed that weird stuff has been happening in various hierarchies. And yeah, it's not just us pattern matching because we're pattern matching creatures. No, this stuff actually is going on. And it's just one of many things that's making shit go sideways. So, let's just go ahead and close it because I don't think there's anything else that we can add to it for right now at the very least. So, as always, thank you very much for being with us tonight. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and maybe you got something to think about for tonight. Back over in the chat, Beth, don't know if that you're still there. I hope that you are taking care of yourself. Please stay safe. Stephanie, you too. You know, we're hoping for you guys over there with too damn many things going on. And Mitski, glad that you were able to make it right at the right at the very end. So you take care of yourself, guys. Thank you. I know this has been a weird one, but I hope that you guys are taking good care of yourselves. Joseph, you have yourself a good weekend. I hope that your weekend goes well, and good luck with the week. By the way, that was a really funky picture that you ended up taking. I was trying to figure out part of what that all was in the window. Yes, because I kind of saw your outline with the camera that you were taking the picture with. That was actually kind of cool.
I think he's not back yet.
Oh, yes. Quite right. I'm sorry. I've got my boom is right next to me. So you probably notice I lean forward so that I can look over and actually see the thing because I'm an idiot.
By the way, Mitski, thanks for joining us. And yeah, strangest things are happening.
Yep. So we'll get back over to him. Tech, thank you. You have yourself hopefully a decent enough week. And, just know that we're thinking about you, man.
I appreciate it. I'm thinking about a lot of things and wondering a whole lot more. It's like, that one's a head scratcher. No, it's not! This is literally the simplest concept you can boil it down to.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth? But still, take care of yourself.
Yeah. You too. All of you. My friends.
Joey. Good to have you. You take care of yourself too, man. It's been a hell of a weekend already, isn't it?
That's one way to put it.
But you take care of yourself, man.
Try. It's just, granted, at this point in the year, some folks might notice that we're all sounding a little tired sooner than usual on the show, and it's been a long year.
It's true that.
I think we're all looking forward to 2021, and when, we can joke about anything that comes up. Like, I will settle for a comet landing in the Pacific Ocean that smells of farts for a week.
Well, 2020 is not over yet.
Don't fucking say it.
Does anyone have that on their bingo card?
Didn't we cover this last week's Horrible Scopes? Don't you know that is not what you say? You want to summon the great god Murphy, or is that what you're trying to do? Because that's how you summon the great god Murphy.
Hey, at
Murphy's
this point, bring it
tried.
on. Please.
Look, Murphy's tried to kill me. He failed.
It's not you I'm worried about.
What?
Never mind.
I think the great god Murphy would be doing us a favor at this point.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. Thank you for your time, Bridge. You take care of yourself, huh?
Yeah, you too. I will try.
And,
Yeah. If you want to send me a friend request on Facebook, it's Brigid Fitch. Is it 10? I don't know. It's in the show notes. Or find me at my blog at brigidfitch2112.wordpress.com.
Yep. I did
And
double.
you can also follow me on Spotify. I had no idea, but apparently that's a thing.
What?
Well, I've got this Rush set list that
Oh.
I started years ago. And it's got 9 followers. I don't know how you get followers on Spotify, but hey.
It's basically you make a playlist, you make it public, and then someone goes looking for, maybe they look for the band Rush, maybe they look for a particular song, and it just says, oh, by the way, that song is in this playlist. Then they go into playlist and go, oh, hey, I like this stuff. Click, follow.
Huh. So apparently somebody likes my playlist. That's pretty awesome. 9 somebodies.
All right.
Actually, my my Warframe playlist has 4 followers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's when things need to die. That's my soundtrack.
Fair enough.
I love it.
Fair enough. I did reread what Joseph had left. He's stepped away for a little bit, but he's got pretty much everything said for himself anyway. So, okay, one less thing to deal with. Dalan. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah, kind of pulled myself over the finish line on this one. It's
I think we all have tonight. This has definitely not been one of our better weeks.
It has been one of our better years. I mean, let's face it.
True.
I'll be glad to have this. I'll be glad to have this year in the rear view.
Damn straight.
I'll be more glad when I can look at it from an office desk or from a place of employment. But we'll see what happens with that. Anyways, I owe you for last week. I got to take care of that. Should have it done this week. What am I talking about, folks? I am the curator of the audio version of this show over at holycrapthevlogcast.com. That's where you can find this in podcast format. If you got a fetish for getting rid of your bandwidth. Hey, the episodes are long, all right? Also, still moving on with my my own podcast, The Kick in the Cast. I was actually looking. I have approximately 7 weeks left of content before I have to have something new and ready. So this week's going to be fun. Probably going to lose both my hands to writing, but yeah, you can catch that over at kickit.yo5.ca or over at podchaser.com/kickinthecast.
All right, man. Appreciate it. So all the information that you need for us is over at holycrapthevlogcast.com. As said, if you'd like to leave us a voicemail message, phone number is 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. Be creative, please. Kinda be nice. Or don't. I don't care. We'll mock you entirely. And maybe we'll even give out the phone number. We won't give out your phone number. That's for me to look at and go, oh, that's the area code where Dumbassery comes from. How quaint. That's my excuse. I'm going with it. In seriousness, folks, we know that this has been a really tough year. No lie. There's no two ways about it. We know a lot of us have been cooped up for the very most part for the better part of the year. For me, it's damn near 9 months, if not maybe a little bit longer. I don't even really know. But if you're still feeling like you need an opportunity to interact with folks, including sometimes us, we do have the COVID Thursdays channel open over on the Discord server. Feel free to join us. If nobody's quite there at the moment, just do a quick ping. Be more than happy to join you, because we're here. We'll be here for you. We'll do our best. And maybe item last. You don't have to spend a crap ton of money. You don't have to. This time, there's not a hell of a lot of money going around. If you feel like it's out of your budget because you're looking forward and it's just something you really shouldn't do, don't feel guilty. Not at all. Don't do that to yourself. We need to get through this together as best we can. It's still going to be tough, but we'll do it together. So until the next time we get together, everyone, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. Peace and long life. Live long and prosper. My lady, 15 years on, we're still safe. And I'm still in love. Matane Fujin, I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night. And the stream is closed.